Hey, today I'm going to show you how to make a quick and easy sand base using products you might have laying around the house. It's pretty affordable and very easy to do. With that being said, let's get started. For this project, you'll need to grab some khaki paint. I have this apple barrel paint that I got at Walmart for about 50 cents, a dollar I think. You're going to also want to get some baking soda, which is pretty cheap as well. I think it's about a buck. And some PVA glue. I use some Elmer's white glue for this. You also need a crappy brush. Go ahead and grab something to mix in. I like to use these disposable Dixie cups to mix in because once you're done, you can just grab it, throw it in the trash. Then I grabbed the baking soda, started to pour some in. You want to aim for a 50% baking soda, 25% paint, 25% glue. You'll tell a little bit later that I ended up making it a little bit wet, but this formula is super cool because even if you mess up, you can fix it immediately. So I went ahead and poured in that glue. A little bit too much, but we'll fix that later. Then I went and grabbed some of that khaki paint. Now, even though this paint looks like it's a lot darker than sand would be, when you mix it with the white of the glue and the white of the baking soda, it actually turns a lot lighter and we'll get that perfect sand color. So definitely use that khaki paint. Now, once you have everything in the cup, you can go ahead and start stirring at the speed of sound. If you can't stir at the speed of sound, you'll get there eventually. No worries. It's at this point that I noticed that the mixture was a little bit too wet, so I just cleaned off my brush. You could tell it was wet because if you move it around, it kind of pools instead of just staying flat. So as soon as I saw that, I knew I needed to add some more baking soda. Now, if you did want to use it like this, wet, it would look perfectly fine. It would just take forever to dry. It also would be for a very thin base is what I would recommend it for. If you want to use it at this consistency, here you see I'm just testing it. You could see that it kind of piles up if you start pouring some more over it, which is good. That'll create some divots and some dunes that you'll want, but it will take forever to dry. So I ended up mixing some more baking soda to get it a little bit thicker. You want to aim for a peanut butter consistency. So if you can go ahead and put enough in there, start stirring it, and it looks like you could put it on a sandwich, you should be good. Just don't eat it. Now here you see I'm just starting to stir a little bit more just to make sure everything's nice and incorporated. Now I'm a little picky, so I just start picking it up and just checking for the consistency. Looks good enough, stiff enough. So I went ahead and figured we were done. I have this really old magician wizard dude that I painted a long time ago when I started collecting D&D figures. I'm pretty sure it's either a WizKids miniature or a Nolzur's Marvelous miniature. Not 100%, but he looked really cool, and I had fun painting him to practice since I just started the craft. I figured now would be the best time to get him finished since he's nice and painted. So, perfect. After looking at my tiny miniature, I realized this brush would be way too big to actually be used. So I tossed that out and went ahead and grabbed a proper sized brush for this tiny base. I also went and grabbed this makeshift painting handle that I made out of a wooden spool that I got from Michael's and some mounting putty for posters and stuff. And I started to stretch it out just to make sure it was sticky enough, just to make sure the base actually sticks on it and doesn't fall out. And went ahead and tested the Dixie cup for strength. Yep, it's durable enough. So I started to stretch it a little bit more, put it over the handle, made sure it was on there nice and good. So this way I could grab my miniature and firmly place him down into the putty. He's not going anywhere. The reason I used the handle was just because the base is really flat. If you know or have bought in any of the Nolzor miniatures or the WizKid miniatures, they come on these really round flat bases. They don't have any bevels to them like the Warhammer bases or Age of Sigmar bases. So I just needed this so I could actually work with the model and show you guys how it's done. You can start painting now, and because the mixture is thick, you can kind of go nuts. Just pop it on and use your brush to push the mixture around to create these grooves, bumps, divots, whatever you want to call them. I tried to make sure I pushed it all underneath and around the cape as well. If this gets a little bit too messy, just grab some of your water and just kind of clean it up a little bit. You can also use the wet brush to kind of push around the sand. The good thing is, since it's still kind of semi-wet, you can mold it to your liking before it actually sets, because it'll take a little while to dry. So
they ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Yeah, this brush has seen better days, but no worries, I'm pretty sure I can still fix it. Let me go ahead and dig this part out. There's no problem too small that I can't fix. So I cleaned it off and grabbed some super glue, put it on the tip of the wooden handle where it broke off, and just stuck it back on. Good as new. Modern problems require modern solutions. I cleaned off my brush and continued with cleaning up the model. Just kind of pushed everything around, added some more sand where it's needed, and cleaned off around the feet to make sure that you could see it through the sand. You can do this by just using a wet brush. It's a pretty simple process. Just wet the brush, go around the parts that are on the model. So don't worry if any of it gets on the model, you can always fix that. I took him off the handle, so this way I could go ahead and put some sand around the edges. This will make it look like the sand's actually going into the board next time he's on a tabletop, which I thought was pretty cool. And made sure to cover those black edges as well. With this, you're pretty much done. All you need to do is wait for this to dry. You can do this overnight, do it in a couple hours, wherever you want to do it. Takes about maybe 30 minutes to dry, more or less. Let's wait for that to get sandy. That is too sandy. There we go. I'll get nice and close so this way you guys can see how it came out. One sec. Here we go. As you can see, the sand, now that it's dry, actually looks like sand. Perfect sand color. And you see those little dunes and divots that I did end up making with piling up some sand around the base. So it looks like he's nice and ready to kill some monsters. You can definitely paint up an army's worth of bases using this method, and it's very easy to do and very cheap. So you guys should definitely try it out and tell me how it came out. I even made this cool orc boy at the beach with some leftover sand. Thanks for watching. My wife Liz helped me edit this video, so I just want to say thank you to her. If you like what you're seeing, please like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, have fun.